Hello, everyone, and welcome to Disney WTF, where we talk about what's the fuss about Disney. This is episode 35. We are on episode 35. My God. And for those that don't know us by now, we're a Disney couple. One of us is a Disney fanatic, and one of us is not. But somehow, we've made a way to make this relationship work.
And we didn't discuss what episode number it was, which, since Richie does the introduction, I knew he would have a hard time.
Yeah. So
I looked deeply into his eyes when I said 35.
Because I got lost after episode 10. I have no idea what episode we're on. But this is our first episode for 2018.
I know. I'm really
Super
excited.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
No, I really can't. This is pretty cool, though.
I have a crazy, crazy story to do before we start.
Okay.
So this week on Twitter, and I'm not a super active Twitter user. I'm not great at using it, but I'm really, really trying. Well, I was doing an episode for the Walt Daily about the Contemporary Resort, and all of a sudden I asked a question about a five-legged goat in the Mary Blair mural, and then I got tweeted with an answer to my question from George Taylor, who is like a super famous podcaster.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I remember listening to him and this is very, very, very specific, episode 58, WDW Radio.
Yeah.
Why every Disney World fan needs to go to Disneyland. And I have this episode saved on my iPod, and I know I still use an iPod. Don't judge me.
Yeah.
And I listened to it. I listened to it probably like at least once every couple weeks, like even to this day. And this episode's from 2008. So
wow. That same episode?
Yeah. Like
crazy.
It's the same episode. And it's just because it's so informative and fun, and they have such a good vibe off each other. And it's just such an entertaining thing to listen to. And like, I saw the name and I was just like, oh my goodness. And then I tweet him back and I'm like, are you George Taylor of this episode of WDW Radio? And he's like, yes.
Oh my God. He's like, yes. That's awesome. Well, I don't know who that guy is, but I'm glad that you're able to connect. That's why I love Twitter, because like you can really talk to anyone on Twitter. Like Twitter's awesome, so.
I mean, it was just such a crazy, crazy thing, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like I really couldn't, because somebody that I've listened to for 10 years running.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, he's talking to me directly.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's pretty cool.
But that
Twitter
is the beauty of social media, which I know you appreciate.
Yeah, I do. Cool.
So, but anyways.
Headlines. That's like a headline.
Yeah.
But.
Well, actually, it's been a really slow news week for Disney, which is understandable because it's been the holidays. The holidays are actually finally over. And instead, I wanted to just talk to you about a couple things that I'm excited to do for 2018. Just a couple things, because that's, a whole other episode. But something to look forward to this year, the opening of Pixar Land in Hollywood Studios.
Okay.
So that's going to happen during the summer. And it's going to feature the Slinky Dog Coaster. There's going to be like an alien saucer ride of some kind. I'm just really, really stoked, especially since like Pandora, which is, just opened this past year, it was so detailed and amazing. Like, I can only imagine what they do with Pixar.
Yeah. It's crazy how Hollywood Studios might
blow everybody out of the water.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I know, poor Hollywood Studios. I feel like it hasn't gotten much love up until recently, but it's definitely going to be coming along. It's going to be happening.
Because it's a half-day park, because I know what that is.
Yeah, I know now that you know what a half-day park is. And so another thing that I'm really excited for is all the things that we didn't get to experience in 2017. I feel like this is going to be our year to experience them. So Pandora, we have to ride the rides.
Yeah, because it's going to be not a 24-hour wait.
Hopefully a 24-hour wait. I've been in the parking lot since 10 p.m. last night for Flight of Passage.
Yeah. Cool.
So I'm super excited to do that. And another thing that I actually really, really want to do is the Baseline Tap House, also at Hollywood Studios. It's like a craft beer bar.
Okay.
I don't know why. It just sticks out to me.
Well, you like beer.
Well.
So.
And I like Disney.
Exactly. It's a perfect fit.
It is. Much like we are.
Yeah.
Together.
Oh my God, stop it.
Okay. Anyways.
She's a weirdo.
Anyways, so those are just a couple of things that I'm looking forward to experiencing this year. And I would love to hear everybody else's, what they want to do for 2018 in terms of Disney and otherwise. I mean, I'm an open book. We can talk. But let's talk about today's episode.
Wait, I have a headline real quick.
Oh, okay.
So for those that know, if you're watching, you could see it, but I have pole dancing Mickey here, and it's very difficult to get him to stand up, like upright. So
pole dancing Mickey is a plush. First of all, he's like a 10-inch plush, we could say.
Yeah, and usually it takes me like 15 to 20 tries to get like him to be in a good position and stand up straight. My first try, I just put him there, and he is just fully stood up and ready to go.
So pole dancing Mickey has become superpower Mickey.
Yeah, that was like a super crazy headline for me.
I was gonna say, I'm glad you made that a headline.
Yeah, it was exciting times.
It's rare that Richie has headlines on his own, and when clearly they're riveting whenever whenever he does have them.
It was amazing.
But anywho.
Yes. So what are we gonna talk about today?
So today I want to talk about the hub. And the inspiration from this episode came from actually researching a segment for the Walt Daily, which is my Alexa flash briefing that I do. And I was researching it. I read a couple articles. I listened to a WWW radio episode. And it's just so much from the hub. It warrants like a full description for you.
Okay.
Because I feel like a lot of the reasoning and I say technology, but that's not really the right word, but a lot of the reasoning behind it and like the psychological stuff behind it, I think that you're really, really going to appreciate.
Okay.
All right, let's get started.
Let's do it.
So what do you think of when you think of a hub?
Central.
Okay. Is that all you think of?
Yeah, like everything's there.
Okay. No, that's a good thing to think about, because it's kind of like what the concept is. So a hub, the way you can also picture it, if you were looking at it from an aerial view, is like a wheel. So you can call it like a hub and spoke. Have you ever heard of that phrase before?
I have.
So you have the central hub, like you were saying, and then you have the spokes, which is what radiates out from the middle. The middle. And you can see all the paths from the center point that you're standing in. And so this is the concept that Walt used in his original design for Disneyland. And it's been said that when they were going over plans for how they were going to lay out Disneyland, that there were over 129 designs that they were going to pick from.
Of entire lands or just the hub spot?
In terms of like the layout of the park, we could say. Yeah. So what they settled on was the hub, which is, the center like you were saying, and then the radiating out to each land. And what ultimately he wanted to do was prioritize the guest experience. So they landed on this idea because this is what would make the guest experience the most, the best.
Okay.
It's the best. And like I was saying, it's an original idea from Walt, and where Walt originally saw it was in Washington, D.C., actually. So what they noticed in Washington, D.C. was that they would have a center, like the White House, for instance, and the streets of the city would radiate from that point. And so it would be this anchor point almost that people could always be like, oh, well, we walked by this earlier. Oh, we made it back to the White House. Okay, so now I know where we am.
Yeah.
Or where we are.
Yeah.
I know. But one of the reasons why Walt felt that he needed to really figure out a great way to lay out this park was because he noticed that in old theme parks back in the day, that they were just very poorly laid out insofar that they would have multiple entrances, so they would have no way of knowing how many guests are coming in and out at any one time, and that a lot of the pathways were meant to trap people inside the park. Like a Las Vegas casino, how it's really, really confusing to get around and nobody actually knows where they are. That's the way most old theme parks were laid out. Okay. And there would just be poor crowd control because of it, because people would never know where they're going. So there would be a lot of funnels and bunching in all around the old theme parks. Okay.
So is the hub? Is there a hub in Disneyland also, like a hub spot?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the hub is not just a spot. The hub is a concept of a layout of a park.
So does every park have one?
That's a great question, because not every park has it.
Okay.
Every Disney park, I mean, specifically. So the park that doesn't have it is Epcot.
Yeah,
and
that
so
makes sense because it's just a big circle, basically, though.
yeah, exactly. And so if you think about something like Epcot, it has that center anchor point. It's like, oh, we made it back to Spaceship Earth, but it's not really easy to get to.
Yeah,
so
because you have to walk in a long circle.
Exactly, and like if you're in World Showcase, you can't easily go back to the Spaceship Earth.
Yeah, without getting a boat.
Yeah. I know, that's true. You have to get on a boat to do it.
Yeah.
So in theory, it could be, but you have to get on a boat to do it.
Called the hub boat.
The hub boat. That's what we'll call it. So a lot of what the hub does is obviously crowd control, because you go into the center of the park and it is going to be anchored by something like Cinderella's Castle or Sleeping Beauty Castle. And then you can access all points of the park from that center point. So no matter what you want to experience first, you can access it easily.
Yeah, that's cool.
And one of the reasonings behind Walt's decision to do this also was because he noticed that people would kind of crowd at the center, but if they were to decide, then they wouldn't have to look very far to get to where they need to go. Like, oh, we want to go to Fantasyland, but where is it? Where is it? Oh, it's right there. Mm-hmm. So we can just go to it.
Yeah, so it's just playing into the crowd control thing.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing that this accomplishes is it separates the lands from each other. So the way the design is, you can really kind of separate the architecture and the theming and story from Tomorrowland, from Fantasyland, so that they're not all converging on each other. And you can really become immersed in whatever land you happen to be in.
Yeah.
And here's an interesting thing that I heard. Originally, so we're talking about the hub and spoke design, so it's literally radiating out from the center. But originally at Disneyland, that was the only way you could get from one part of the park to the other, is going through the center.
Oh, so like if you went into one, you had to come back out to go back.
Exactly.
Okay, that's cool.
So that was the flaw actually in it, because they noticed that it was becoming not great for crowd control because you did have to go through the center point to access other areas.
So they connected like to make it like a wheel.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's more like a full-on wheel, because you do have the outdoor paths, the outside paths from the hub in order to get around.
So they had to fully. So you say, was that a design that was like one of the designs, or was it actually like that and then they had to like rebuild?
They had to remodel.
Oh, so they built it like that. They only had the ways out and in or whatever, and then they were like, "Ooh, this sucks. We need to rebuild."
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, at least in Disneyland, that didn't happen in Magic Kingdom, because by then they would have learned that they didn't have to do that.
Well, that's a fun fact.
I know. I mean, it's crazy that it is like it wasn't always successful in that way.
Yeah.
And another thing in terms of crowd control, because you think about like mind control, let's say.
Okay. Where's this going?
I know. And this is go with me on this
Disney.
one.
I get it, actually.
This is far-fetched.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, like, it's Disney literally controlling like the masses, and not actually directing their path per se, but it's making them disperse more when they wouldn't even realize, because then everybody's not going to be gathering in Fantasyland or Tomorrowland, even if they want to hit those big attractions at first, because people are literally, even if they want to, let's say, go to Space Mountain first, but they go through a different path to get there, that's already going to disperse the crowd.
Yeah. So would you say that, especially for like Magic Kingdom, that when you walk in, if someone that's never been to Disney, if there's like something that leads them one way or another?
Ask me that one more time.
So like when you go, like, so when you go to Magic Kingdom, is there something that like when you walk up, that there's something in the design that leads people to either kind of go start to the right for their day, or start to the left, or start to the middle? Do you know if that's, because like I wonder if that's a thing, like how you say like this is how they control the crowd, so not everyone is like somewhere. Because for some reason when I think about like starting something, which I don't even know if this is legit, but for some reason I always go right. Like when I walk into somewhere, I'm like, all right, where do I start? And I'll just like for some reason go to the right if there's no clear direction.
Yeah, in Disney parks, at least from my experience, I find that there is no clear direction. If you didn't have a park map, let's say, you don't know where, the big rides are that you want to hit early in the morning.
Yeah.
I feel like most people do go to the right, and that's just like a human nature type of thing. Like I would go to the right, you go to the right.
Yeah.
Some people, they know that most people go to the right, and then they'll go to the left.
That's funny. Yeah,
that
true.
literally happens. So
Yeah.
instead of going to Tomorrowland in Magic Kingdom, you would go to Adventureland.
Yeah, interesting.
But I mean, it's super interesting. But the cool thing is, though, it's like you have that option because you can access all these points.
Yeah.
So instead of like, let's say if it was just a straight path straight through the castle, and then you had to kind of find your way from there, you can literally just go into the hub and disperse to all these different areas of the park. I mean, it's pretty cool. I really think it's cool. So one of the things that this hub design also accomplishes is people from... Richie's looking at me like laughing. I'm like a professor.
So much information.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, it's
I'm
awesome,
throwing it all at you.
Yeah.
Everybody,
No,
I'm
cool.
throwing it at you like water darts. So...
Water darts?
Like darts, but they're balloons. Like water...
Those are water balloons, not water darts. Why did you say that? What are water darts?
They feel like it's coming out of a gun.
Okay.
Recurring.
Continue on.
Okay, Richie, let's focus.
All right.
So another thing that this will accomplish, and this is like super crazy, but it's like duh, is people are not going to get as tired as easily.
Okay.
The reason is because you can traverse the park so much faster from one land to the other. It's what Walt called museum feet. You're not going to have museum feet, so tired feet from walking all day.
Okay.
Because you can get from one area of the park to the other a lot more efficiently.
Yeah. That's why they did the remodel, I'm sure. But I don't know how the hub doesn't really facilitate that. Unless the hub is like the entire thing. Maybe I'm wrong.
But it does though, because like let's say and I'm going to use Magic Kingdom again as an example. So if I'm all the way on the left at Adventureland, but then I realize, Space Mountain only has a 20-minute wait, you go right through the center.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're right.
I should have, what I always forget to bring Richie is pictures. I do not have a picture for you. I'm so sorry.
I can picture it though. I have an imagination.
Do you?
Yeah, it's magical.
Okay. And I was kind of going over this earlier using Washington, D.C. as the example that Walt had. It's going to prevent people from getting lost. So another thing that all these old theme parks did was people got lost. And Walt felt like that was not conducive to a great guest experience because you didn't feel comfortable. Like if you're lost, you just don't feel comfortable being where you are. And he wanted to go completely opposite to that and make people feel like I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going next. Yeah. And so Cinderella Castle, for instance, will be the weenie. Do you remember what weenie was?
Can we stop using that term? It's just
Walt used it all the time,
I
though.
know. It's gonna make me laugh every time. So just be ready for that.
Okay, so a weenie is to refresh your memory, is the term that Walt would use to describe something that would draw people in to where you wanted to go.
I want to see video of him saying this.
Okay, well, that's...
If you could find that, that'd be cool.
Okay, I'll research later.
I still don't even believe this.
So you would have that center icon where people could, you could see it basically from every part of the park and be like, okay, we're going in this direction. And no matter what direction you were coming from, you were heading towards it based on the paths and the design of the hub.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty cool. I think it's a simple concept in theory, but at the same time, it's really something that it makes so much sense. And now all these other theme parks that are not Disney, adopt that design because it's just so effective.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, here's a non-park example of a hub. If you think of an iPhone, it's like a hub, and you have all your apps. They're like the spokes.
Yeah.
It's like a hub and spoke.
I get it. I understand what it is.
I wrote down all these examples because I just wasn't sure if Richie would grasp.
If I would get it. She has no faith in me.
I do. I mean, but you ask a lot of questions, and I'm like,
I'm glad you asked what type of phone it's like. It's like an iPhone.
It's like an iPhone.
Not like the old school Nokia ones.
And Another reason why I did want to go over the hub specifically with Richie is because of his passion, which if you listen to Richie's Day at Disney, his passion for the hub lawn.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Now, the hub lawn, I think I kind of told you, it didn't always exist.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there was a time, it was like around 2015, so a couple years ago, where it was those wide open spaces were not there. There's way more pathways now than there were back then. It was a lot more gardens.
Oh, okay.
Trees and gardens.
Also, it's just an accessible space.
Yeah, for
everything
the most
else
part.
before was just you had to walk around it.
Yeah, or smaller pathways.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's one of those things that when they first announced that they were going to remodeling that area, Disney people, some were pretty anti-renovation.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we don't like when things change.
Which I would be livid if they like say, "Oh, we're taking it out." Like, you're doing what?
We're putting plants there instead, so you can't sit there.
Yeah, that's funny.
But when you kind of think like they're redesigning the hub, they're making all these more open spaces, taking away some gardening experiences, other pathways. And you know, people got a little bit upset, but when you kind of think about the whole reason why Walt wanted a hub to facilitate having a great guest experience and facilitating crowd control, I mean, it just makes sense. So it's definitely like within Walt's vision, the hub lawn.
Yeah.
That's what I really wanted to get to, was that your lawn is something Walt would have wanted.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get it.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, how do you feel about the hub?
Well, it's pretty intense. I mean, I didn't think there was all that stuff that was, you know, gonna come along with it. You know, basically it being an important role in crowd control and having a good experience. When I first thought about it, though, like when you told me about like you said what the topic was going to be for this episode, I thought there was going to be like some crazy like not economical efficiency, but like environmental efficiency was going to like come out. I don't know why, like something like that. Like I was thinking, I was like, what did they do?
Well,
but crowd control, I didn't think it was going to be crowd control.
How about this? I can tie it into the environment. So people are less like exhausted, so maybe they're producing less carbon dioxide in the process. No?
Nope.
I'm not an environmentalist, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, anyways.
Okay.
Wow, but that's so interesting that you thought it was going to be more environmental related.
Yeah.
But you think about, you know, when Disneyland was created in the 50s, I don't think the environment was the first thing on their mind.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I guess, like, you know, economically, there might not be like some direct impact in terms of it being like, you know, where they can make more money. But I'm sure because of, you know, like you said, like guest satisfaction and happiness would in turn, I'm sure, make them more money.
Well, yeah. And you know what? People aren't going to be as tired from walking from ride to ride, so they'll have more time to shop.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty awesome for them.
Yeah.
Super excited for you, Disney.
That's true.
Economic hubbing and whatnot.
Hubbing.
And whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I got.
Yeah, nice. Well, if you are listening right now, we'd really appreciate you to subscribe, leave us a rating on however you're listening, whether it's Google Play, iTunes, or SoundCloud. And we're on Instagram, Facebook, Medium, and Twitter, which Lori now loves, I'm sure. So, you know...
Celebrity sighting.
That was funny. Celebrity sighting. So, and also, if you have an Alexa briefing, or if you have an Alexa device, make sure you enable the Walt Daily Alexa briefing, the flash briefing on there. It's amazing. It's super well produced. I listen to it all the time, and I'm pretty sure you would like to as well. So,
do you listen to it because we live in the same house?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but I like it though. Like I enjoy it though. It's stuff that I can consume being a non-Disney fanatic.
I appreciate it.
So I'm sure fanatics would probably absolutely love it.
Thanks. Well, anyways, everybody, thank you so much as always for listening. We really, really appreciate it, and we hope it brings a little bit of magic to your day. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.